Hello everyone, this is Spliced, and welcome to my full guide on the Gladiator. I've been using this class quite a bit of time before its release on Season 3, and also quite a bit of time after its release on Season 3. This will be a guide going through the basic knowledge, the beginner, advanced, and for experts as well, a full moveset guide on everything you need to know about this class. I do not claim to know everything about this class, however, so I might be leaving some things out. Feel free to let me know things I left out in the comments below, but with that being said, let's get right into it. The Gladiator is an assassin, a quick-moving, heavy mix-up class that can really devastate your opponent on the aggression. But the problem with this character is that it has low defense, and although it has the same HP as a Centurion, it has the reflex guard of the Shinobi, meaning it doesn't have much time to block an attack, which you have to really utilize your attacks and mix-up to get the aggression on the enemy and make sure they don't have a chance to open up into you. A really good way to strategize with this character is to keep your distance from the enemy and force them to move on to you. This will allow you to give you a wide range of attacks to throw on your enemy. But if you want to stay in close, you can too. Keep in mind that this character does have low defense, so you gotta really make sure that you're on top of your game and you're keeping your enemy at bay. Now that we've gotten over the basic knowledge of the class, let's move on to the beginner moveset. At first glance, the Gladiator's moveset might be a little bit intimidating, in fact a bit overwhelming as well. But as you go through this guide and you'll go through all the movesets and everything there is to learn about the Gladiator, you'll realize it's a lot more simpler than you think. As you can see, there's a lot of basic chains you can work with, but you don't really need to use the vast majority of them. In fact, you hardly will even use the basic chains. You will actually be using one or two of them just to initiate the other combos in these movesets. As you look over these basic chains, you'll quickly realize that they're not really as great as you might think they are. And although they are pretty decent with a pretty decent speed, there are many other vast different kinds of attacks you can do in chains that have a much better payoff and have a better reward. Although I will go over them just to make sure if you guys want to actually truly really try to mix up everything you possibly can with this class. The light attacks can chain up to 4 times before doing a heavy, and with every light you can do a heavy afterwards to finish the combo. On top of that, you can also do a heavy into a heavy. And again, at first it might seem like this is a really good idea to start off with, but I will tell you right now that there's a lot more going in depth that we will go into that actually will be a much better way to start off the Gladiator if you're going to pick him up. Next in the basic moveset, we're going to be looking at Fusina Ictus, which is commonly known as the toe stab. Perform this combo by moving backwards and pressing guard break. This is one of the most commonly used attacks with the Gladiator because it is one of the most best attacks, as it is used at the end of a combo to completely end your chain no matter what you're doing. You can do it without doing a combo, you can do it after doing a light attack, after doing a heavy attack, after doing a combo with light and heavy attack. There's many different ways you can open up into this chain. But the great thing about it is that it is pretty hard to dodge and hard to read when the enemy is using it. But if you do it too much and the enemy does successfully dodge it when they read you, they can get a full free guard break, so you gotta make sure that you're doing it with care. Really quick, we're gonna take a quick look at the running attack. What makes this running attack different than the other running attacks is that if you miss it, you do have a chance to redeem yourself by pressing the guard break after, and it will knock your enemy back and stun them. This does not guarantee any attack afterwards, but if you're near ledge, it could knock them back. The other great thing about this is that it does not allow them to punish your running attack if you successfully hit them with it. And finally, before we get into the combos of the basic moveset, we're going to be looking at the Shield Bash. This is one of the heart of the attacks that your character is going to get for his initiators, since it is a dodge attack that when you dodge and guard break, you will throw out a Shield Bash and stun the opponent and deal some stamina damage. However, this does not guarantee anything at all. But what it does is that it gives you a window of opportunity to do some mind games on your opponent to get an attack in, whether if it's a heavy, feinting a heavy, going for a guard break, or you name it. The choice is yours on what you need to do, but keep in mind it is not guaranteed. Also, the Shield Bash itself is not guaranteed, and when dodged, might give them a chance to do a guard break or a light attack on you, so be wary of that. The first combo we're going to be looking at in the basic moveset is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. Just perform a Shield Bash and go for a full-fledged heavy. This might think that it doesn't work, but it actually works a lot more than you might think. If you're mixing up your moveset and going for a Shield Bash in one direction, then a heavy in a different direction, it can really confuse your opponent, and you can actually get off some pretty free heavy attacks. The next combo is again pretty simple and straightforward. It's doing a light or heavy attack straight into the Fusina Ictus. If you're going to do a basic chain and you want to go into the Fusina Ictus, I'd recommend doing it as soon as possible, as it is not really likely to pull off as many lights or heavies as you might think before it's parried or blocked. And if your lights are blocked, you won't be able to continue with your chain, aka finish your combo with the Fusina Ictus. Something really interesting to know about this attack though is that if they're out of stamina, you can actually knock them down by using it. This will allow you to get a free heavy. That's about it for the beginner moveset. It doesn't really seem like there's a lot to learn about this class in the basic form, which that is pretty much true. There's a lot of attacks to open up with and use, but if you want to push the combos any further, you're going to have to learn a lot more that's coming in the advanced and expert movesets. Stopping here is a great way to learn all the attacks and everything to initiate your attacks. But for those who want to really push their combos further, here is the advanced moveset. Before we move on to the advanced moveset, we're going to learn about the zone attack. Perform the zone attack by doing a light and heavy attack at the same time. If the shield lands, you get a guaranteed hit afterwards. Next, we're going to be looking at the skewer. To perform the skewer, after any light, heavy, or light chain or heavy chain, move backwards and press heavy attack at the same time. This will perform a bleed effect, and the longer you hold it, the more bleed damage you do. The first combo we're going to be looking at is involving the skewer. After you successfully land the skewer, you have an option. You can either do more bleed damage, or you can press the guard break button shortly after to throw them into the wall. This will allow you to go for another heavy, or you can go for a light or anything else you want to go for. Since the enemy is staggered, it depends on what you guys would want to go for. But this is something really interesting to know because it does mix up the skewer combo. The next combo we're going to be looking at is going back to the shield bash. After you successfully shield bash the enemy, instead of following through with the heavy, you'll feint it into either the toe stab, a light attack, or guard break. These are the three main choices you have, but there are many other things to go for, but I'll get to that in the future. The reason why feinting the heavy is so important is, although it does not speed up the attacks of the other things, such as the toe stab, the light attack, or the guard break, since there is a delay after the shield bash if you go straight into those attacks, but it does add a mindset of trickery to your opponent, making them think that you're going to go through with a heavy and then you follow through with either a light on a different direction, or a guard break, or even the toe stab. And this is a really good strategy, and it works quite a lot of times. You'll be surprised. The stun effect goes a long way, and to utilize that to your advantage is a really good key in getting the damage you want in with this character. And to really harass your character and pester them with these attacks is a really good way of making them impatient and want to stop you from doing this. This is when you can really take advantage of their frustration and you can take them down because of this. The next combo we're going to be looking at is involving the skewer. After you successfully perform the skewer, feint it instead of going through with it, and this will allow you to open a variety of options. You can go into a light, a heavy, a guard break, and of course this toe stab. There are some other things as well to go with this thing as well, but again, I'll be getting into that in the future. This is a really excellent move because the skewer is considered an unblockable attack which will force your enemy to act, and this is where you can punish them for their mistakes. That is it for the advanced moveset. It might have seemed short, but that is because there's a lot of potential to be opened by this class. This class is meant to keep its distance and trickle away at your opponent when they get close, but if you want to switch it up and then harass the enemy and go on the full offensive, it can do just that. For those who want to stay on this advanced part, this is actually a really good place to stop, as it already shows you the basic fundamentals of the class and really good ways to harass your enemy and keep them at bay. But for those who want to really push this class to the utmost potential and get the most harassment as you can out of this class towards your enemies, here is the expert moveset. A quick thing to note about the zone attack is whether or not you connect the shield, you can feint the attack that comes afterwards.
You can feint it? Holy shit!
Even though it's pretty much guaranteed you will get extra damage when you do the zone attack. It is useful to know because you could potentially get even more damage if you feint it into a different attack. It could really confuse the enemy, and also if they do manage to dodge the zone attack, feinting it is a really good strategy into going into a different combo and making them really confused and getting a better chance of doing more damage. Some of the attacks are based off of the previous ones mentioned, such as light attack, guard break, toe stab, heavy attack, you name it. Keep in mind though that no matter which one it is, it will drain a vast amount of your stamina, since the zone attack will already take up 50% of it. However, this would be most useful against an enemy who's out of stamina. After you do a zone attack and feint it, go for the toe stab and it'll knock them down. Enemies will generally have a hard time dodging this because they're still expecting to get hit by the zone attack, so they don't really think of dodging after they get hit by the shield bash. One of the combos from the expert moveset is shield bashing into a heavy feint, but go for another heavy feint right after. This combo is usually meant for the players who are waiting for you to feint the heavy into something else, but then if you feint the second heavy into something, it usually is guaranteed, because the enemy will try to parry the second attack. The next combo is all about doing heavy feints into light attacks from different directions to really pester and confuse your opponent. At first you might think that this should be something in the advanced moveset, but there is one step you can take it further. After you do a heavy feint, instead of doing a light attack, go for another heavy feint and then go for a light attack. You can also go for a toe stab halfway through this combo to end it whenever you feel like. This is a really good mind game element to this class that can really keep your opponent confused, but also keeping yourself on the offensive, and they can't really do much about it other than trying to block the attacks. The next combo we're going to be looking at is taking the skewer a little bit further. After you successfully perform the skewer and do the full bleed damage, dodge forward and do a shield bash. This will allow you to open up any of the combos from the advanced moveset. This is one of the more aggressive combos, but it does require you to land the skewer. If you're not confident in letting the skewer go and you think the enemy is going to parry it, there is one other way you can perform the skewer, which I will be getting to in a sec. The next combo is one of the lesser used combos, but it is very useful to know nonetheless. It does take up 99% of all of your stamina if you're at full bar, but it does almost pretty much guarantee that extra last hit you need if the enemy is low, and you need to just really confuse them. Perform this by doing a dodge shield bash, and then right after, you will feint the heavy into a zone attack. This will really confuse your enemy if successful, and should pretty much guarantee you that damage. Again, it isn't one of the most viable moves, but it is pretty useful to know, because if the enemy is pretty prepared for everything else, he shouldn't be prepared for this attack. The other way to get the skewer to activate is through a deflect. A deflect is performed by dodging into the enemy's attack right before the parry time. When you perform the deflect, you will do the skewer animation on a strong attack right after. And this is where you can perform any of the combos you want to after the skewer is done, whether you want to let it go or if you want to guard break them. The next combo we're going to be looking at is the shield bash after parry. When you do a parry, do a guard break immediately after, and instead of guard breaking the enemy, you will shield bash them. This will allow you to do any combo you want after the shield bash. Again, just letting you know that it is not guaranteed damage, but although you will get a heavy from a guard break after a parry, against longer ranged characters who do not get guard breaks after parries, you can use this as an alternative. As a plus though to any characters you do this on, if they lose their stamina after the parry and then shield bash, you can then feint the heavy into a toe stab, which will knock them down for extra damage if you do a heavy. And for the final combo, we'll be looking at a secret ability that is not even shown on the moveset list. After you perform a skewer, whether if it's through the attack or if it's through a deflect, if the enemy is backed right up to a wall, if you time it perfectly during the skewer animation, about halfway through, you can get a shield bash animation instead of a guard break. This will allow you to stun the enemy and get another free heavy. Yes, this heavy is guaranteed in regards to a regular shield bash. After that, you can go for anything you want to after, whether if it's a toe stab, a light attack, another heavy feint, a guard break, or another skewer. This is a really good infinite combo, but it does drain up quite a bit of stamina, and it is also really hard to pull off. so I would not necessarily say it is an infinite combo, but it is good to know nonetheless. That is it for the expert moveset. As you can see, this character is quite the aggressor, but also quite the passive player as well, depending on how you want to play on him. He does have low defense and not really the best HP, but he can be utilized very well to stop the opponents in their tracks and also not allow them to do anything towards you. I hope you guys did enjoy this video, hope you guys did learn something, and I'll see you guys later.